Welcome back, everybody. The Cynthia Darlow has been waiting patiently for me as I was on another line trying to get a refund for QuickBooks Online. And I got a refund. So thank you for waiting, Cynthia. I appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
So everybody, please welcome Cynthia to the program, and we can actually begin now. So, Cynthia, people may know you from as I know you, even though obviously, it's so often in our acting world that I've seen you before, but I really remember you for as being Mrs. Moskowitz in my one of my favorite all-time shows of the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So that's where people may know you from. But they've seen you in Thomas Crown Affair. They've seen you. I remembered you in one more place. One of my other favorite shows, and it's a pretty good list. But one of my other favorite shows is Madam Secretary. So I
Ah,
remember you being the judge in a very memorable scene with Mike Barlow, which was very, very funny. So I remember that one as well as I was going kind of through your work. So hence the life of an actor, right? You do all sorts of things, and then people may pick you out. It's like, yeah, I remember, or maybe not. So welcome, welcome, welcome. It's such a pleasure to talk to you. I do absolutely want to talk about Mrs. Moskowitz because it's a great, great character that I truly enjoyed. Um, I think, and if you're not allowed to say anything, please don't say it. But I think the next season is getting ready to shoot. Is that correct? Based on what we can tell.
that is correct. We just started shooting. I just shot my first episode of season 4 on Friday.
Perfect.
And I have to say, after almost a year of quarantining, when
Yeah.
they yelled rolling, I got a lump in my throat. I was so thrilled to be standing where I was standing and about to go to work. Oh,
Yeah, it's been a long time coming,
mm,
and you're in New York. New York has been
I am.
obviously hit really hard. Billions is another favorite show of mine.
Mm.
They had to halt production, and they didn't know when they were coming back. It was kind of like, yeah, well, nope, nope, nope. So yeah, it's finally you're getting back. It's good, thank God. But we've all missed being on set, and we certainly missed the show, which is it's not just my one of my favorites, but I got my whole family hooked into that. My wife is waiting for the next season so she could watch it again. So
Everybody, as my friends kept saying to me, don't you people realize that you're essential workers? We need
well,
Mrs. Maisel on the tube.
yeah, absolutely. It's funny, right? So, actors sometimes were treated as you're actors, whatever. And then when everybody is locked in and you have nothing to do, who do you turn to? You turn to,
I would just like the nation to remember that it is the arts that got them through the pandemic. I
yeah.
hope everybody remembers that when it comes to be funding time.
I hope so too. And we've had some, so a number of things actually, came out of the pandemic because a number of organizations came out of it that are actively working on, getting a secretary of entertainment or a secretary of the arts, and getting funding and getting people because the industry is huge. The industry
Mm,
is bigger than manufacturing. The industry is bigger than airline and transportation
yeah.
industry.
Yeah,
So
it's bigger than people realize. We all take it for granted that it's just going to
yeah,
be there.
yeah, and it's not. Again, talking New York, talking Broadway, because you've been
Mm.
on off Broadway. Theaters shut down. It's just
Oh,
so
heartbreak.
so tragic. Yeah, it's I had people on who were I think they even did the last kind of trial runs of Broadway shows, and it was about to begin, and then everything got shut down.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's. Do we know when the theaters are going to open back up again?
we
Maybe.
don't. We
Yeah,
don't. We had hoped it would be this spring, but that
but
doesn't look likely.
no.
Um, I tell you, I've spoken to the risk management person at Amazon, and he
Yeah.
tells me that we can expect to be in masks and washing our hands for the next 2 years.
possible, but it doesn't mean that
Yeah.
we can't be in a theater together. I think, again, based on what I hear, and it's not like I
Mhm.
have any insider information, it just comes from regular sources, but if they think that we can start getting to a some level of normal in the fall, that may mean that, sometime after that, theaters are going to start opening up to
Ooh,
whatever
I hope so.
capacity. We'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss the theater. I'm in Chicago,
Oh,
so I,
good town. That's another good town.
we have beautiful theaters. We have
Yeah.
so much going on, and we haven't been able to do any of that. But thankfully, I shouldn't complain. My family and I, we all had COVID. It was not fun. Kids were mild, we were mid, but thankfully nothing was serious. So
Yeah. My
um,
husband had it as well, and thank God he's just fine now. But he got it very early on and had symptoms that were not the symptoms that we knew about then.
yeah,
Uh, he never had a fever, he never had a cough, but boy, was he sick. And he's
yeah.
a guy that never gets sick. So we didn't know it until a couple of months later when he had to
Mm,
be tested for a routine procedure. And they
mm,
said, You've got the antibodies. You had COVID.
yeah.
And I
My
got
wife,
tested and negative. So here we are in a very small apartment,
yeah.
living on top of each other. And it's just incredible that I didn't get it.
Did you check antibodies? Do you have antibodies?
No, I don't have the antibodies. We
Wow.
both got tested. After we found this out, we waited for a month and got
Yeah.
tested again at different labs. And again, he was positive and I was negative.
Wow. Well,
Wild.
good. I guess,
Strong like bull.
yes, great immune system. No need to change anything. Um, no, that's fascinating. Yeah, you were talking symptoms. My wife, when she got it, we didn't recognize it, and this was early December. But when she got it, it was her backache, and she works out a lot, so we thought it's just standard kind of
Yeah.
soreness. So backache, 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 then some headaches, and she was supposed to be teaching because in addition to
Mm.
being a CFO, she's also a fitness instructor. So
Oof.
and she was supposed to go and teach, and she kind of mentioned to her boss that, hey, I have some backaches and a headache, and she made her go get a test, and the test showed that you have COVID. And we're like, oh,
Wow.
okay, there go the next 3 weeks of
Ah,
our lives, and then everybody got it after that. So
mm.
anyway, on to more interesting topics. So I can't start all of my other questions because I keep focusing on all of the wonderful pictures that you have behind you.
Ah,
Can you tell us more about those?
sure. Well, this painting right here
Yeah.
is something that my husband and I picked up at a consignment shop in Rhode Island about 20 years ago.
Wow.
And it turns out because I was actually in an alumni gathering from the North Carolina School of the Arts. And one of my fellow classmates, former classmates, saw the painting in the background. He said, Is that a Joe Kelly? And I said, No, no, it's an Italian artist named Vinciata. He goes, Yeah, that's Joe Kelly. Well, it turns out that this artist was from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where I went to school, and he painted under the name Vinciata. And I didn't know anything about the painting really, except that name. And so we went on the internet and found out that it might be worth a little something. And
Okay.
he recognized it right away. He said, "Oh no," he said, "He's a master piano tuner. I mean, does concert halls and things like that." He said, "There was a time when you would go into a wealthy person's home to tune their piano, and if they didn't have a Vinciata over the piano or over the mantle, they really hadn't made it to society." I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? So that's that
Wow.
story. The rest of them over here are all
Mhm.
family photographs.
Mhm.
I'm Polish and French in descent, and my husband is Italian and French. And
Mhm.
we have lots of wonderful old period photographs of family members. That's the family gallery up there.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And you were born in Detroit, which I immediately it piqued my interest because I have a lot of family in Detroit. I went to high school in the Detroit area. So where in Detroit were you born?
Not one of the, well, right in Detroit and lived right in Detroit.
Oh,
Where did you go
okay.
to high school?
Berkeley High School. So
Yeah.
we lived. a lot of my family were, in Farmington Hills. I lived in um, Southfield and Oak Park.
Okay.
So that's why I went
Yeah.
to Berkeley for my freshman year, and then we moved to Chicago. So
Yeah. I went to East Detroit, rough school in those days.
yeah.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. Um, I was supposed to go to Warren High School rather, but
Mhm.
we moved and I ended up going to East Detroit and then I moved to Virginia,
Okay.
where my parents had divorced and I went to live with my mother in Virginia.
Mhm.
And but that was an incredible thing because that's where I discovered the theater and it
Mhm.
changed the course of my entire life.
Well, it's a perfect segue because I was going to ask you how did it begin. So what happened in Virginia and why did it kind of come top of mind?
Well, there was an extraordinary teacher. I enrolled in school, and my big plan was to go to college. Nobody in my family had gone to college before, and I was dying to go to college. I was always a good student and a voracious reader. And
Mhm.
my big dream was to teach English literature. I wanted to go to college and I wanted to teach English literature. So they had something in this high school in the South called electives. We didn't have electives in Detroit. And they had this drama course and I had really no idea what it was except that it was I probably thought, oh, this is probably like reading plays. I would enjoy reading plays. I'd never
Mhm.
really been to a play. I thought I would like that. So that's what I thought I was signing up for. And this teacher, uh Mr. David McClung, as he was taking roll my first day in class and I answered here and he said, wow, what a voice. And I looked around behind me to see who he was talking to because I was a little brown mouse who never spoke to anyone. And anyway, this teacher really took me under his wing and he forced me to be in the first high school play, which was You Can't Take It With You, as the Russian countess.
Mhm.
Well, I begged. I said, please, I'll die. Don't make me go in front of people. I'll build your scenery. I'll paint. I'll sew costumes. I'll do anything you want, but don't make me go in front of people. I can't do it. He said, no, 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 no. You're the only teenager I've got with a voice husky enough to be the Russian countess. You have to do this for me. Oh my God. It was hard to say no to this teacher. So, okay. Well, I went, they threw me into a vintage beaded evening gown and out onto the stage, and I got my first laugh, and that was pretty much it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had no idea that I could make people laugh. It was a glorious, glorious discovery. So I read every single play he had in his library, like Grant took Richmond, as they say in the South. And I did every school play that came along. I was just completely consumed. I just loved it. I felt it was just amazing. So this teacher, I came from a very poor family. He paid for my college boards.
Mhm.
And he found out about this school in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, North Carolina School of the Arts, now part of the University of North Carolina. But in then days, it was private conservatory. And he coached me and drove me 10 hours to North Carolina to audition for the School of the Arts, where I got accepted and won a scholarship.
What a wonderful man. That's
Yeah, yeah,
it's we all have these kind of times in our lives when we could go one way or another way, and through grace of God, through intuition and other people helping us, we choose that path. It's
yeah.
always fascinating to me how that happens. So that's
It was
amazing.
wonderful. I stayed in touch with him to the day he died. He did get to see me do my first Broadway show, so it was pretty gratifying.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, so you went there, you started, and then I know you've done a lot of theater. And actually, coming back for a second, or taking a detour for a second, you wanted to be in literature. You love reading. You've done a lot of reading still, because I know that you've received some. What is it called? What are they called? You get some.
Audio awards or headphones awards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got those, and then you do a lot of audiobooks,
I do.
narration. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's such a peaceful way for an actor to make a living. It's really great. It's not for everybody. I mean, you're sealed up for hours and hours in a soundproof booth with no air,
Yeah.
and not being able to move around really. And that's not for everybody. I love it. I love being able to sit there by myself and tell a whole story from beginning to end and do all the characters. It's just the best. I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, we kind of combine things that we love. So you love reading, you wanted to do literature, now you're doing it. It's just another way of getting there.
Yeah.
So you get paid to read a book. What's what
How
could be
fabulous
better
is
than that?
that? Yeah.
Perfect. So I know you've done stage, you've done film. It seems again based on IMDb Pro, which is not always right as as I've learned, but it seemed like you've gotten your start on screen, whether it was on TV or film, with kids stuff. So it's how did that happen, and what is that?
The regular way, I auditioned for a job and got it. This was what you're referring to is Square
Yeah.
One TV for the
Yep.
Children's Television Workshop,
Yeah.
which ran for 5 years, and then I guess two more on reruns. One of the best jobs ever. An extraordinary cast and crew, and we taught math to 8 to 12-year-olds through the use of music videos, parodies of game shows, a little series called MathNet, which was like a takeoff on the 50s drama Dragnet that was on television.
Yep.
And but we solved math problems. Our motto was to cogitate and to solve. And it was just a great job. We had incredible guest stars, and we shot approximately 11 sketches and a music video a week. We worked our butts off, but it was just one of the best times of my life. And people still talk about it. They grew up with it. They watched us every day after school. I can't tell you how many times at the stage door of a Broadway theater, young people in their 30s say, "Oh, I grew up watching you every day on television." It's lovely.
It is. So that's how you went there. And then were you doing kind of theater as well as on-screen?
At the same time, yeah, I would shoot during the day and do my Broadway show at night. I did 10 Broadway shows, I'm lucky to be able to say. And so I've been very, very busy, knock on wood.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And again, let's build our way to one of my favorite shows, which I think I need to stop using that statement because people are probably confused since The West Wing is my favorite show of all time, and Mrs. Maisel is my second favorite comedy or dramedy because it's not really comedy, it's
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah.
mix. Anyway, so we're building our way there. I want to talk to you about the Thomas Crown Affair. Um, the again, this is uh, the recreation of it. Of the
Right.
later. It was
The
1990
remake. Yeah, yeah.
when it came out. So you were playing, Crown Secretary, which, if
Right.
I remember correctly, were you the one that was that noticed that the case was gone? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I remind him that he'd forgotten his briefcase.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-oh,
Uh,
noticed something she wasn't supposed to. Yeah. Um, I found that movie very, very enjoyable. It
I
was
did too. I was proud of it. It still holds up.
it does. I'm not sure how many times I've watched it. Anytime that it's on TV, if I see it, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Because both of the leads are terrific in it. And
Yeah,
they
Pierce Brosnan was a doll to work with, and of course, very easy on the eyes.
And I was going to ask because he's obviously it was the kind of around that Bond time, so he had a particular thing that he had to appear like Bond in whatever he was working on, which as an
Yeah,
actor is a blessing and a curse at the same time. But uh, did you find that from an acting perspective, right? Some actors are always in character, some actors are coming in and out. What was Pierce like? Was he just Pierce and then snap in, or was he mostly kind of Crown?
he was kind of a blend of the two. He's a lovely man. I'll tell you, we when we had the first scene we shot together,
Mhm.
I was sitting at the desk. They had just finished lighting me, and he came in and he went, "Oh, you look absolutely lovely." And I looked up at him and I said, "So do you." And he laughed and squeezed my shoulder. We had a wonderful time. Then at one point, they were shifting some lights and things like that. We were standing at the Lucent Technologies building where we were shooting it, looking over New York Harbor, and we both confessed to each other how much we loved the Hudson River and how gorgeous this view was and everything. And he said, "Oh, I'll tell you a funny story." He said, "I was on a friend's boat in the Hudson, and we got becalmed. There was no wind. The motor had died. We couldn't be there. We couldn't move anywhere, and we had to call the Coast Guard." He said, "Can you imagine the look on their faces when the Coast Guard got there and realized they had to rescue James Bond in the middle of
I
the
know.
Hudson?"
And it's apropos and kind of ironic because in the particular movie, the Thomas Crown Affair, he has to race and he's on a
Yeah,
boat. Yeah,
yeah.
very interesting. That's a very cool story. Thank you. Um, so you've gotten to play some really interesting, juicy parts. And like a lot of the actors do, you have some, co-star, guest star appearances. Um, they seem kind of spaced out. Was it, on purpose? Were you busy with Broadway? Were you having other commitments, or it was just kind of, as it comes, it does?
Yeah, a combination of all of the things. I did a lot of regional theater too in between
Yeah.
Broadway shows, so I would be out of town. Like I went to do after my first Broadway show, which was the original Broadway production of Grease, which I did for a long time. I did 2 national companies and 3 years on Broadway, and it was another fabulous moment in my life.
Yeah.
But right after that, I left that to go to be a founding member of the American Repertory Theater at Harvard in Cambridge, Mass. And I was there for several years and did, a million different plays. And then I would come back to New York, I'd do a play or something off Broadway, and then go back out of town and do something in the regions. Whatever they hired me to do, I would go and do. That's pretty much how I planned my career. Whoever hires me next gets me.
Yeah. No, and that's a where the wind blows type of career management,
Yeah.
but it served you very well.
Actors
Um,
can't plan it. It just sort of happens.
Usually, yeah. There's no straight path in the acting for anybody. Um, so I'll come back to Madam Secretary. We touched upon Law and Order. You've been on 3 versions of it, and you've done at least what 7, 9 episodes.
7 or 9, something like that,
Yeah.
episodes of the various 3 shows.
So
Yeah.
it was interesting, right? Because it seemed like you started with a co-star on one of the Law and Orders, and then after a while, it maybe they noticed you and they said, "Hey, come over to this one, and we'll introduce you into this universe as more of more of a main type of character." Is that how it happened? That somebody just liked what you were doing?
I don't know what their plan was, but I did get to be a member of what we call the Law and Order Rep Company. There are a bunch of us actors, the character people, especially, of which I am proud to be a member of the character actors. It's whatever they needed me to do, I could come and do. It was wonderful to be a part of that. Those shows consistently are fabulous. And again, they still hold up too. Reruns and reruns and reruns, and they still work. They're wonderful.
Yeah. You know what still holds up? The Mary Tyler Moore Show. I
Yeah.
didn't expect it, but it still holds up. I watched it just recently, and it's still great. It still
Yeah.
applies to what we're doing. You know, certain things don't, but for the most part, it's still the same ideas. I love it.
Yeah.
So, and then again, the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh,
Um, when I started getting back into acting, because again I was acting as a kid. Then we moved to the United States. Then I kind of tried, and my parents said, "No, you're not going to focus on acting." So I found other careers, and then later, kind of in my early 40s, I went back into acting. So I remember watching Rachel, Midge,
Brosnan. Yeah.
doing, in the pilot, doing her main kind of scene at the very end. And as a person going into acting, I was sweating because I thought, how in the world can I be expected to remember so many words and to deliver that type of a dramatic and comedic performance? I'm like, I don't know if I'm good enough to even try this thing. So that kind of was my, that's probably a wrong measuring stick because Rachel is amazing. But that's what I was going through. And I was just loving the show from a pure entertainment and a viewer perspective, but then watching it from the acting perspective,
Yeah.
it's so great. I can't think
It's
of
very,
anybody. I can't think
yeah.
of anybody who isn't fantastic at their craft.
It's true. It's heady company to be a part of.
Yeah.
Rachel's memory is phenomenal. It really,
Like,
she's just extraordinary. Everybody is, and we work fast. It's a breakneck pace. That's the MO of Amy and Dan Palladino,
yeah.
and you have to be able to do it. You don't get hired if you can't. So it's really a count of great honor to be among these people. Many I've known for a million years. Well, Tony Shalhoub and I were both founding members of the ART in Boston. That's how far back we go. We've done a million things together.
Mhm.
Um, who else? Brian Tarantina, may he rest in peace, who passed away, who played Jackie, the manager of the Gaslight Club.
Yeah.
He and I had done a bunch of off-Broadway stuff together back in the early 70s.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. So it feels very homey. Amy and Dan run a fabulous set. There's no drama. Everybody's treated respectfully. It's just everything you want a job to be, especially in television. It's just great.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you guys got to, well, you didn't get to travel much, but the last season there was quite a bit of traveling involved. Thankfully, it happened before COVID because that whole thing would
Yeah,
never have worked out.
yeah.
So this season, probably not as much travel and kind of focusing
I
on.
have no idea because
Yeah.
we do sign non-disclosure agreements, and I don't even see all the scripts. I only see the scripts that I'm in, and yeah, so it's all kept under wraps.
Perfect. And when you were auditioning for it, did they say that it's going to be kind of a guest star recurring? Did they say anything?
No, no, in fact, just the opposite. Auditioned just, the regular way. I got a call from my agent. I went to the audition. Amy and Dan were the only two people in the room with the casting director.
Wow.
And I read a scene. They laughed. They gave me a little direction. I did it again. They laughed. I left. And I went home, and a day or so later, I got a call that I'd gotten the job. The characters of Joel and Mrs. Moskowitz, is my understanding. We were only supposed to be in the first season, but we had a chemistry that Amy picked up on, I guess, and here we are, season 4 together, and we're sidekicks. You know?
It's great. I because again, Joel was not an easy character to love, uh,
Yeah,
and they
but we
did
do
a
now. I mean, that's another thing that they do. They really, Amy and Dan really grow our characters so you can keep relating to them, and yeah, your feelings change about them, just like in life. It's pretty wonderful.
It was, and they keep kind of messing with the audience in the best way,
Yeah.
which is very enjoyable. And then Zach Levi was on the list. You know, last he was last. No, it was the second. It was the second season he was on, right? Yeah, Zachary Levi was on season 2, and then he did a little bit on season 3. So they keep kind of introducing and growing that whole universe, and it's
Yeah.
really enjoyable. Such a high quality show. I love it. So in terms of kind of Mrs. Moskowitz, is there, did they give you a backstory? Did they say, here's what we're looking for, or you kind of decided on your own and then they went from there?
It was a real collaboration in that they didn't really give me any background. That was up to me as an actor.
Mhm.
I got a lot of help and insight to my own character because of Donna Zakowska and the hair department. They really gave me my look. And then when I got all that stuff, I went, oh, this is who I am. The only thing Amy's ever sent to me is Mrs. Moskowitz is always smiling. She's always got a positive attitude, and that's really kind of all she's really said to me. And everything's fine. I can handle it all, that sort of thing.
But that's so you did a lot of development because there is a lot of depth to the character. There are a lot of different tones that you're playing. It's deadpan. It's really really enjoyable. So good job.
Thanks. Well, I'll tell you, they give me a nugget of comedy gold every single scene. I can count on it.
Yeah. And do you like comedy as opposed to drama? I know some people prefer one. What's your view on
I love it all. I have to say, I love comedies. I love being in a serious piece. It's all just fascinating to me. I love the work. I love the process of arriving at a character and driving a scene. It's just endlessly fascinating to me. I'm so lucky to have been able to do it as long as I have and to continue. I don't see an end in sight yet. I guess I'm not retiring. Uh,
it?
And now there's a whole new thing, which I don't know if you know about it, but in addition to my career, I've been in the vanguard of forming a nonprofit 501c3 company called the Rehearsal Club. The Rehearsal Club was a theatrical boarding house from 1913 to 1979 here in New York City. In fact, Edna Ferber's Stage Door was based on the Rehearsal Club, the 30s movie and the play back in the 40s, I think it was. Um, that was a real place. And I got off the Greyhound bus in New York City in 1972 with 25 bucks in my pocket, no job, no place to live, no agent, no union card. I just came to take my bite out of the Big Apple. I had just been on tour with the National Shakespeare Company for a year. That was my first job out of school. And I had a girlfriend who was living at the Rehearsal Club, and I called her up and she said, "Gosh, I think we're full, but why don't you come and meet the house mother? We'll see what we can do." And this lovely house mother took me under her wing and gave me a break and put a cot in a room with two other girls for me. And I had this safe place to live on West 53rd between 5th and 6th, and two meals a day in those days for about 60 bucks a week. Well, I didn't even have the 60 bucks. And you had to audition to get in and have two letters of recommendation from theater professionals vouching for your seriousness. Well, I had two letters, but I didn't have anything worked up for an audition. I just been working for a year, but they took that as my validating audition, and they took me in. Well, that piece has made my entire career possible. I was going to plan to stay a week on somebody's sofa here, a couple of days on a couch there. That was my backup plan to go couch surfing. And this place gave me my toehold in Manhattan and the beginning of the theater scene. I got a job waiting tables right away and started auditioning from the auditions listed in Backstage, the trade paper. And that's how it all started. Without the piece of the Rehearsal Club, I wouldn't have lasted in New York a week or two, really. It wouldn't have happened. So that I was always very, very grateful. When it closed in 1979, it was very sad. About 10 years ago, some of us rebanded. We became a club again. We elected officers. We were paying dues. We were once again a club. And we had planned to write a book. 30 of us, I was on the writing committee, 30 of us wrote 10-page memoirs about our life at the Rehearsal Club. And we've been looking for a publisher. We still are. We were with a literary agent for a while that didn't work out. And so we still have that book. And we wanted to do a documentary commemorating the legacy of the Rehearsal Club. It was such an important thing. I mean, producers came to know that if you were a Rehearsal Club woman, you were the real deal. You had already been vetted in a way. Long story short, I couldn't see how we could raise money to get any of these things done. And I just happened to find out about an organization called Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts. They help artists who don't necessarily have such a great business head get their dreams brought to fruition. And so I took a seminar on nonprofit. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is what we should do. We should be a nonprofit. Well, I went back to the membership and they were like, I don't know. It sounds like a lot of work. But anyway, one of the girls and I went back to the VLA, and this time they gave us a conference room with 6 lawyers, and we talked to them for about an hour and a half, and they said, yeah, you guys should go nonprofit. Well, long story short, again, with their help, we became a 501c3. This just got our 501c status a few months ago, and we have a residence. We have made an alliance with the Webster Apartments in Hudson Yards, Midtown Manhattan.
Mhm.
They have been a female residence since 1923. They are still in operation, and we are going to be taking a wing of apartments there to start the new rehearsal club as
Yeah.
soon as COVID allows us to move in.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
We had an anonymous donor step up with a $100,000 challenge grant toward housing. He said, if you guys can raise $100,000 between this past December 1st and June 1st, I will match it dollar for dollar, which starts us out with $200,000 just for housing.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not retiring. You have a lot of work to do.
I never expected to have a corporate career, but here I am.
No, it's kind of everything finds you at the right time, for you and for others. So good for
Well,
you.
Maisel was such a big help with that because of the having the spotlight for 10 minutes, being a part of Mrs. Maisel. I've gotten to, talk to a lot of people that I might not have ordinarily met. And it's all been so very helpful.
Has it opened doors for you? Again, you've been in the industry for a long time. People know who you are and your work. Being on Maisel, has it opened doors that were previously closed?
I can't tell yet.
Okay, well, that's fair.
I've still been so busy with it and with the theater too, and now the rehearsal club. I haven't noticed if that has opened doors, but it certainly did in terms of getting attention for the other things that I'm doing. It certainly has helped with that.
I get you. So, for those people who are watching this and are thinking, okay, well, how do I have a long-lasting career in the industry? Any advice that you would give to them?
Show up on time, know your lines, be nice,
Yeah.
and respect everybody who's involved.
Yeah. And
We have so little control as actors over what happens next. And I think if you have to be relentless. I mean, there was nothing else I wanted to do, absolutely nothing else. And I just really stuck to it. And Lord knows that there were some mighty lean times. But yeah, I just think be ready, keep up your voice lessons. I mean, I couldn't even afford voice lessons, but I would warm up every day and, make sure that my instrument was in tune. And yeah, you have to be ready for whatever happens. You can't afford dance classes sometimes. I certainly couldn't. So you lay down on the floor and you do your bar and you do your stretches and you just, stay ready. That's a big piece of it. Stay ready.
well, thank you for helping me come up with the name for this episode. So this episode will be named "Stay Ready." Um, Good, I like it. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's such a joy talking to you. I look forward to the next season, and then please, send me a link. I'll put it below the video, so if people want to check out, or if people can, donate to keep it going, we'd love to help.
Great. Thank you so much. It's so nice to talk to you as well.
Pleasure. And thanks to everybody for tuning in. Go please check everything out and support all of the projects that Cynthia is on. And let's continue with the love of acting, because I know that you love it as much as we do. Thank you, everybody.